Hello. It is Wednesday. It is 5 p.m. Check this out, Pacific. And so we are going live at 5. Yay. Okay. This week's free training, super excited about it. Mind the lighting. I'm staying in a gorgeous Airbnb right now. It is like a super modern condo. When we're in the city, it's really, really fun. So if you're watching this live, say hi. Give me a fun emoji. Let me know maybe where you're watching from or maybe what mood you're in. Maybe send me an emoji of your current mood. And we're just going to invite my hair to today's live training. Ta-da! Hey, Laptop Freedom Babes. Wonderland. This is Hello from Greece. Hello. So this week's live training is actually really cool, a day in the life of the VA, and I want to share it with you. And it's super fitting for this week because I've taken my business on the road as much as I can during this crazy pandemic. And it will be kind of a fun insight into a day in the life of a VA and how this whole work-life balance works. Is working from home too good to be true? Is digital nomad like for someone else and not for you? I would love to hear if you resonate with that. Like VA sounds too good to be true, or like the digital nomad lifestyle is just for like the rich and famous and the beautiful, and like I could never have it. Like, let me know if that has ever come up for you, because it 100% came up for me. I know before I started my virtual assistant business, I like tried to become an Instagram influencer, and I started 3 blogs, and I even tried like a YouTube channel, and I was like, I'll never make it. Like, I'm not like the rich and famous. I'm not a model. I'm not all of these things. And then that's why I landed on virtual assisting. So I'm so excited to kind of paint a picture of like a day in the life. If anyone's curious about virtual assisting, like, let me tell you kind of what it's like. So I'm going to paint a bit of a picture first of like day in the life of a full-time VA. So you're a full-time VA. This is your only source of income. You do not have it as a side hustle. Like, what does your day look like? It's really, really awesome. And here's the thing, your day by design as a virtual assistant is going to look very different for everyone, because you literally can live and design the day that works best for you. So I'm going to kind of like paint a little picture for you. What my goal always is for like all the women who do the Laptop Freedom program or any of my training and mentorship programs, become a virtual assistant and go on and continue learning, is time effectiveness. Because the more effective you are with your time, the more free time you have in your day. And that's always the goal as virtual assistants. We want independence. We want to be independent from schedule, location, all of these things. And so the average worker in an 8-hour workday actually only does 4 hours of work. So as virtual assistants, if we can actually do 4 hours of work in 4 hours, then we're like done by noon. This is the amazing thing. But let me paint a little bit of a picture of what it's like a day in the life of a virtual assistant. This is like a full-time virtual assistant. I'll touch a little bit on like if it was a side hustle and like what would that look like for you, for anyone who's super curious about it. So one of my number one tips is always to like calendar block your clients. So let's say you have 3 clients. We'll call them client A, client B, client C. I keep wiggling around because I'm playing with this lighting, but whatever. So I always tell everyone, I'm like, okay, calendar blocking is the most important thing, and having a clear to-do list. That helps you stay organized with your clients and being really, really effective with your time and making sure you do all your tasks. So what does calendar blocking mean? Calendar blocking in this situation means that you designate certain times of your day to each client and nothing else, and you don't overlap them. So if you can find a rhythm with your clients, let's say in this situation you have 3 clients, if you find a rhythm and you're like, okay, client A is my biggest client, and so I definitely need to give them like 2 hours beginning of the day and get it all squared away. Client B, my second biggest client, maybe I do a couple hours for them in the afternoon. And client C, in fact, I only work on their stuff 2 days a week. It might be something like that, right? So the first thing that everyone should do as a virtual assistant, either the night before or the morning of, is like get in the zone and you're like, okay, how am I blocking out my day in order to balance multiple clients, in order to make sure that all tasks get done, my clients are communicated with in the way that we have agreed upon, all of these things. So sitting down and getting organized in the first thing that you do that day or even the night before. So you wake up in the morning, literally, you're a VA. This is a VA that's like full-time VA working from home. This will be like scenario 1, okay? Full-time VA working from home, you wake up, you go through your morning routine, meditation, coffee, walk the dog, yoga, send kids off to school, whatever it is. Your mornings are like dedicated to you waking up, getting the house all settled. And then maybe you start to work on client A. I'm getting calendar blocking and calendar client in my head mixed up. You work on client A stuff first. It's like, okay, client A, I'm going to square away their email marketing campaign. I'm going to respond to these emails, and I'm going to do that one website maintenance request that they had. Done. So now you're kind of in your afternoon now. Maybe you go for a walk. Maybe you're like me, you go skiing. Maybe you go for a round of golf. Maybe you go out for lunch with another VA bestie, whatever it is. And, for me, my brain really kind of shuts off between 3 and 5. My brain's like, it's happy hour, we're not working. So I know to schedule my day around the 3 to 5 window when like my brain doesn't work. And I'm like, okay, I'm not getting anything done during that time. So that's why like working out your day is a work in progress. You're really going to learn how to do it. And that's the really fun part, is that you're really discovering when you work best, how you want to shape your day. So that's the afternoon. Maybe you go after lunch, after you go for drinks or whatever, maybe you're like, okay, I'm just going to work on client B's projects. I'm going to do hashtag research for them, do follower engagement on their social media, all that kind of stuff, square that away, send them like a wrap up synopsis in Slack, and I'm done client B stuff. You have dinner, whatever. You might be someone who works really well at night, so maybe you'd go into client C and you're like, okay, client C, I'm gonna create that one image that they needed me to make for their Facebook group or something like that. And so you really kind of design your day in a way that works best for your maximize effectiveness and efficiency. So getting up in the morning and just like waking up, organizing your day, going for a walk, like stretching the body, like meditating, doing yoga, whatever it is. You can do that in the morning. Then you can block out in your calendar when you're going to work on client A's tasks, client B's tasks, and when you're going to work on client C's task. Maybe now you're able to shape your day so that instead of grocery shopping at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. when everyone else is grocery shopping, and it's mayhem and it's crazy and we're all wearing masks and all this crazy stuff, instead you go grocery shopping at like 11 or 10 a.m. when it's really quiet, and you can totally shape your day around that. Maybe there's that yoga class that you really want to go to, or that spin class where the instructor is awesome, but it's like a weird time. It's like 3. And so you can really work your day around that. So the nice thing about virtual assisting is because it's flexible, and we're really kind of making this shift that a lot of us are not used to. We're used to designing our life around our work schedule. Our parents did that. Our teachers did that. Our friends are doing that. We've been doing that. It is what we know. Work comes first. And then we shape life around that. We say no to hobbies. We say no to family events because of work, 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 work. So making that shift to life first and then work will fit around it, and I can say that with confidence, that is new. And so you have to get used to it, and there's going to be like weird stickiness. I know when I first started as a virtual assistant, in order to make the transition smoother for me, I set my hours as Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. And so you might think of that and you're like, well, Rebecca, what was the point? You might as well have been at like a Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 job. Here's the thing, when I shifted over to full-time virtual assisting, like it was a big change. I was now working from home, which I wasn't doing before. I was working while I was traveling, which I'd never done before. All of these other variables, I was working for myself. I was like picking and choosing who I got to work with. I had so much more control that I was like, okay, there's a lot of moving variables going on right now. And so in order to support me and just like slow down this craziness, I'm going to stick with Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, because that's what I understand now. That is the like rhythm of my body. And then slowly I got more flexible and I've been able to kind of figure out, when actually does work best for me. For me, first thing in the morning, I wake up and I'm super ready to work. And then actually at the end of the day, when the house is quiet, like everyone's kind of settled in, they've had dinner, all this kind of stuff, I work really well then as well. Between 3 and 5 p.m., forget it. My brain totally shuts off. And when I reflect back at my 9 to 5 jobs, that was still true. I remember between like 3 and 5, I'd be looking at the clock and being like, oh my gosh, like my brain is out. It can't. And so I really got to learn what works best for me. Okay, so scenario 2 is like you are a side hustle VA and you're working from home and you also have a job that you are VAing alongside. So this is really cool because this is how, in fact, you can start. Sometimes the concept of like virtual assisting, leaving your 9 to 5, buying a one-way ticket, selling all your things, putting everything in storage and like traveling around the world, it's like feels really extreme. And it never has to be that. It does not have to be that. Virtual assisting can be really flexible. And in fact, if you just want it as a side hustle, if you just want an extra $1,000 a month, if you want it so that you can maybe cut down, hi Jenny, you can maybe cut down on some of your shifts at work. It can also be that. It can be a side hustle. It can be full-time. So let's talk about the day in the life of a side hustle VA. So let's say you get up, maybe you're working a 9 to 5 job, you get up, you go to your 9 to 5, but you've got like one VA client, two VA clients, and depending on what they need. Maybe at the end of the day or at lunch, or maybe you've got one of those jobs that has like a really quiet, it's like quiet at the desk. I, in fact, started my virtual assistant business, which was full-time, as I was working a full-time job. And I did them both at the same time because, in fact, I had quite a lot of downtime in the afternoon of my full-time job that while I was sitting at the desk, I did VA work. Don't worry, Jenny, you can re-watch the replay when I'm done. So you can like start at the beginning. I'm just having a good time talking about this. I'm literally like traveling with my laptop right now and it's really fun. So if you are pairing virtual assisting as a side hustle along with a job, you can literally do it like at your desk, at lunch. You might have one of those jobs. You could be like, Rebecca, absolutely not, I couldn't. Maybe it's something, maybe you work with a client and you work on their stuff Tuesday evenings, Wednesday evenings. Maybe you work on their stuff Saturdays. It's just an extra source of income on the side where you can totally pair them together. And if you want to be a VA as a side hustle, that is totally doable and it's totally awesome and okay. If you want to transition the side hustle VA into full-time, you totally can. And if you're a full-time VA and you're like, I want this to be a side hustle, then you can do that as well. That's why it's so yummy and flexible. Okay, Then, what is the day in the life of a traveling VA? Now, this one's really, really fun. One of my first trips I ever did as a virtual assistant was to Japan. I had been dreaming of going to Japan in the winter and skiing their ski mountains, which I'd only heard were awesome. I'd been dreaming of doing that for years, and I never could with my 9 to 5. Now, remember, my 9 to 5 was actually 12-hour days in the film industry. And the film industry is like project by project, right? So we'd like work on a movie and then technically the movie would end and you'd move on to another movie. So I kept thinking, I'm like, okay, I'll work on a movie and then when it ends in the winter, I'll go traveling, I'll go to Japan. But the way that this like project to project industry is, the film industry, is that if one project comes to an end, if one movie comes to an end, and you're offered the next movie, it feels irresponsible to say no because you're like, when will the next opportunity come up? So because of that, I never said no to like more films, more films, more films. And so I never got to do that trip. I never got to go to Japan and it was crushing me. And I was like, I'm just going to say goodbye to this forever. Like, let me know if that, like, do some of you have a dream trip that you have had to say no to for like years and years and years because of your 9 to 5? Like, that was so me. So when I started my virtual assistant business and I quit my 9 to 5, that night, literally that night, I bought a ticket to Japan. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to figure this out. I'm absolutely going to figure this out. I'm going to figure out digital nomad life. I'm going to throw myself into it. I have to, because this is why I'm doing it. And it was so, so special. So a day in the life of a traveling VA, let me just tell you about it. It was absolutely amazing. So my clients were North American based, and I went to Japan. So in fact, I was 9 to 11 hours ahead of my clients at the time. And I just got like ultra organized in what my clients needed from me because when I was awake, they were sleeping for the most part. And when I was sleeping, they were awake. And so there were a couple meetings that I would have to wake up in like the middle of the night and attend meetings. But I was like, I'm in Japan. Like, this is amazing. I'm literally a digital nomad. I've got to like wake up for a handful of meetings. Like, I'll be fine. But it was so efficient and effective with my clients because in fact, I was more effective with my time because I wasn't getting interrupted by my clients. They were sleeping while I was awake and I was ahead of them. So they would literally wake up to me having already done the work that they needed that day. And so I was nervous going to a place like Japan where I was going to be, the time difference was going to be so big that I was like, this is going to be really tough. I'm going to have to be really proactive. I'm going to be really organized. But here's the thing. That's what makes me such an amazing VA is because I am organized. I am proactive. I am doing all of these things. And so the day in the life of digital nomad Rebecca in a place like Japan, and I've gone a lot of other places as well, but it's a really fun example because it was like my first time throwing myself into it, is I would get up in the morning and I would crank out 3, 4 hours of work. So laser. I was so laser, and here's why. Like, I didn't have anyone distracting me. I was traveling by myself. I didn't have like a dishwasher I thought I needed to unload. There wasn't laundry I had to flip, like none of these things. I woke up and I was so effective and I was so reward driven with my time because I knew once I was done, I could like be traveling and touring Japan. So I woke up, I did 4 hours of work, like really deep, effective work. Like 8 hours of work in 4 hours, because that's what the average 9 to 5er does. They do 4 hours of work in 8 hours. So I would get up at 8, 7, and I would be done by noon. Done by noon. And then I throw my backpack on. I know my clients are sleeping, so they're not going to be reaching out to me. and I would be touring or skiing or doing for the rest of the day. I also, every time I go traveling, I make sure that I always have like some source of internet on me. So like SIM card, like for SIM card, a local SIM card where I can get internet. Or in like Asia, it's like a pocket hub. It's like literally a modem and it's like this big and it goes in your pocket. It's on your person. Everything's connected to it. It's amazing. Because then sometimes, yeah, I don't know, like a client would wake up or just however the timing worked, like I would have an email from a client or I would have a message. But I was literally backpacking and traveling the world that I was like, yeah, sure. I'll just go and get a latte at this local coffee shop, pull my laptop out of my backpack. I've got this whole video on my mobile. I did a whole video on my like mobile office while I travel. And you will do an hour or 30 minutes worth of work or whatever. And that's like the day in the life of a traveling VA. And then, you can always travel for longer periods of time because it's getting paid, like, you're paying while you're there, you're getting work done. So every so often I'd be like, I'm just going to do a full days of work. I'm just like, I don't need to go walking around. I don't need to see more temples today. I don't need to whatever. And I'm just going to do a full day's work. Just like get ahead. And so that is what it's like as a traveling VA as well. A day in the life is like wake up, crank out those hours, get it done, send your clients everything you need. Depending on your time zone, you might even be ahead of the game. They might be waking up to that work already being done because you're organized, you're proactive with your clients. And then you like go and see the sights, or you do the thing, you go on the hike, you go skiing, you go to the cenotes, you go to the whatever it is. And so that is the amazing thing. So when you're thinking, when you see digital nomads, when you see travel bloggers and you're like, this is too good to be true, how are they doing it? The reality is that we all are working. We're all doing it. Yes. Yes, Jenny, exactly. That should be your plan. And we're all working. It's not like these people don't have to work, but here's the thing. There's 24 hours in a day. If 4 to 5 of those hours are spent working, effective, deep, juicy, like efficient working, then you still have so much time. You're not stuck in an office. Like, who here is like in a 9 to 5 office, and when you reflect back on your day, you're like, yeah, no, there was like a lot of standing around, or there was like a lot of time I was on my cell phone, or I was talking to Deborah at the coffee machine, or like, right? Like there's so much of that. But if you take all that fluff out and you really kind of narrow in on your effective time and you calendar block and you keep track of what your clients need, and you like wake up, you're like, I'm going to work on client A, and I'm going to work on client A only, and then I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to work on client B, and like client A is done. I'm done with them for the day. I'm now focused on client B. And then client C, I'll do the little work I need to do with them for Thursday and Friday. And you get really organized and effective with your time, then you really can have a day that's mapped around, your work is mapped out around your life, like the things that you want to do. You can say yes to that happy hour. You can say yes to that lunch. You can say yes to that hike, that picnic, that tour, that visiting another country. It can all get done if you're really organized and effective with your time. And it's not too good to be true. It's just different than what we're used to. And here's the thing, you're taking out a commute. And for some of you, that's an hour in the morning and an hour at the end of the day. You're taking that out. That's 2 hours that you get back. And if you're grocery shopping at like rush hour, like all of those ineffective times that everyone else is doing it, it's amazing how much time you save. And then a day in the life of a VA, in fact, is like really efficient and effective with the work. And then you square it away. And you'll have meetings here and there. Like you'll have a meeting with a client, a project update, an analytics summary, whatever it is that you do with them. You're going to have those meetings and they will fit around, your life. We all have to work. So we don't get into virtual assisting or getting into the digital nomad life because we don't think we have to work. That's not true, and we all know that. But it can efficiently and effectively work around what makes us happy and what we want to make as priority when we are efficient and effective on your time. Okay, amazing. Let me go through the comments. I hope that really kind of rang a bell for everyone. Okay, so you focus, Jenny, you focus on each client, or do you focus on each task? Jenny, that's a really good question, actually. I would say from my experience, and everyone's different, right? It's about being the most effective for you. My experience is each client. And so, and I do this whole, I think I even did a free training on like how to be like super laser efficient and effective with your time. And it's something that I talk about a lot in the Laptop Freedom Program, is because I want the women who go through the program to be like maximize their independence. In order to maximize your independence, you need to be really organized, proactive, and effective with your time so that clients don't need you and you don't need your client. You're just both getting the work done. So I always do it like one client at a time, because each client has like their own energy, their own vibe, their own personality, and they've got their own business. And their own business is nuancy and they have their own preferences. So it's like, okay, client A, I'm going to work on client A stuff from 8 to 11, let's say. This is like a pretty big client, you know, if you're going to be working from 8 to 11, like 5 days a week. And so 8 to 11, you're like, I'm working on client A stuff. That's it. Their energy, their business style, their vibe. And then, you know, after lunch, you might work on client B. And even if some of the tasks are similar, I think it's better for the effectiveness of your brain to switch on, off, on, off, on, off. So I actually read this book called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. Don't know if I would recommend it if there was like a Spark Notes. It's like outrageously boring and dated. But really what the book gets into is just being super effective with your time. And so Tim Ferriss talks about how multitasking is extremely inefficient. We, in fact, are not able to multitask. We're not able to do two things at once. And two things at once takes us longer than just doing one thing at a time. And so that's the great thing about calendar blocking, is that you're like, okay, I'm going to work on client A stuff and only client A stuff. So that means that you are not checking your emails from client B, you're not checking Slack from client B, you're not checking like anything from client B, because it's not their time. It's like, it's not their meeting, right? If you were to be having meetings at your 9 to 5 and like you're having a meeting with client A and then like client B like comes into your meeting and starts talking about that stuff, and then client C, like, right? You'd be like, no, your appointment is later. And so that's how you break it up. And then work on client B stuff. Even if you're doing similar things for each business, similar tasks, in my experience, because each client is nuancy and has their own personality and has a certain way of doing things. And what makes it really effective for me is if I write down a to-do list. I'm a big like writing out my to-do list. I sit down, I open my journal. It's one of the first things I do every day. And sometimes if I'm feeling kind of anxious, I'll even do it the night before so I can sleep and just know what's coming. And I write out my day, like client A, these are the things I'm going to do. Client B, these are the things I'm going to do. And I like never stray off the list. And I like check things off after I do it, especially when I'm done. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm done client A stuff. I'll work on client A again tomorrow, but for today, client A is done. I did everything for today. And then you can switch off and then you switch on. You switch on to client B. It's like, okay, and then you go through this. And it's just a training of your brain that's like, brain, it's okay. You can turn off now. Client A is done. Done. We did it. We did everything for today. And your brain's like, okay, switch. Don't need to be thinking about that. Don't need to be trying to remember that. And then you switch on to client B. And it's this really kind of effective way to be using your brain, like switch on, switch off, switch on, switch off. Otherwise, we're thinking about all the things. We're thinking about, okay, I've got to unload the dishwasher. I've got to sort the laundry. I've got to respond to client A's emails. I've got to do social media management for client B. And your brain is so busy keeping track of all of this. It's actually using energy to not forget what it has to do. This is the crazy thing. That if you're like switch on, switch off, switch on, switch off, it's way easier for your brain to stay super effective. That's a really good question. So that's how I would do it. So I would like client A, client B, and you can look at your whole week, right? You're going to have some clients that have like a 20-hour package, and you're going to have clients that need you for 5 hours a month, whatever it is. Or you might have like a 30-hour a week client, whatever it is. You're going to have clients of different sizes. And so you can map out your week and be like, okay, client A and B are my big clients. I need to work on them every day. But client C, in fact, I just need to go and touch up their website on Thursday or whatever. So it's about being really, really efficient and effective with your time, and then communicating that with your clients as well. Really, really good question. Awesome. Okay. So I hope I really kind of made it feel real, like a day in the life of a VA, letting you know that like we still work. You know, I had a student in the Laptop Freedom Program. She's like, you're always golfing. You're always like, she's like, how do you do it? And it's like, I've just become really, really effective with my time. And I trust that I can say yes to a golf game, yes to a trip, yes to a hike. I trust that I will come home and I will get the work done. That's okay. Or I'll get up early and I'll get the work done. I trust in myself in getting that done. And so I can say yes to these things. And there's a lot of things I say no to as well, right? Like I still have to make money and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, I have yet to travel to a country that has poor internet reception. I haven't done that yet, right? So those are some of the tricks that still I get to learn. I'm still like, okay, work is a priority. I've got to make money. I've got to put a roof over my head. I got to, you know, but you can do both. It's a switch between thinking it's one or the other. It's not one or the other anymore. Like you can have both. You can say yes to lunch. You can say yes to all of these things and then trust that you will arrange your day, your work day, to fit around it. And then you have to train your friends and family too. Ooh, another question from Jenny. Would you say it's best to offer packages? So, Jenny, that's a good question too. Starting out, yes, I do. Starting out with any client, I think it's good to start with like a 10 or 20-hour package, and here's why. A 10 or 20-hour package starting off with a client does a number of things. The first thing is that it's low risk for both parties. So a package is paid for up front, and you know, you commit to 10 hours, you commit to 20 hours. You always say like, let's just start out with a 10-hour package, 20-hour package as we get to know each other, as I get to know your business, and we kind of sort everything out. It's low risk if you realize that like, in fact, you hate working with this person, or they realize that you're not the best fit for them. And so at the end of these packages, it's like, okay, you know what? Like that allowed us some of that low risk wiggle room. And obviously we hope that doesn't happen, but it at least kind of helps people take the leap in the first place and kind of like are willing to try things out. And then normally, you know, the relationship's awesome and you keep cruising. The other nice thing about offering packages up front is that as you track your packages, so as you, you know, the first couple packages for sure, it's just kind of like setting up an orientation and learning how they do things, and you have a couple of kickoff call meetings with them, and like, you know, so the first couple packages are just like you getting yourself organized. And then as they renew packages and they keep getting more, in fact, you can look at it over a scale and you can be like, okay, I am consistently using this 20-hour package every 2 weeks. And so if then that's pretty consistent, then maybe you suggest a 40-hour retainer, monthly retainer. And so packages are a great way to start so that both parties are easing into it, getting to know each other. Does that make sense? So that is kind of, and then it, you know, especially as a starting VA too. So before you offer like per project packages, like you might be a design VA and you want to offer like per project, like per website or whatever. If you're starting out and you don't necessarily know how long websites take you to design or how long a logo takes you to design, packages allows you to also track that as well. You're like, okay, on average, it takes about this long for me to do these things. And so when you start off with 10-hour packages, 20-hour packages, it's low risk for both parties. It's not like a huge, crazy commitment. It allows it as like a more welcoming space to enter into for both parties. And then you can start to learn about your business. You learn about your effectiveness. You learn about where you're spending your time. And then we can kind of start to develop and customize and like dig deeper in. But that's a great, super great way to start. Makes total sense. Awesome. So packages would be about hours, not about certain tasks. Well, that's a good question, Jenny. So yes, the packages I'm speaking about are hours, 10 hours, 20 hours, and same reason, right? You don't necessarily know yet how long tasks are going to take you. And in order to figure out how long tasks are going to take you, you need to be doing the same task for multiple clients so that it's like a genuine average, right? Because you're going to have some clients that have like large businesses and some clients that have small businesses. And so those tasks are going to take different amounts of time, right? And so in order for you to really build up your businesses and maybe kind of niche down to particular offerings or customized packages and stuff like that, like per project, I always suggest like start off like 20-hour packages, 10-hour packages, and just be using like Toggle, for example, to track your time. Maybe you put it in like a spreadsheet and you just start to really learn about your business. And you're like, okay, this is where I spend my time. This is how long it takes me. I'm getting really efficient with this. I love this. So I hope that makes sense. Like the 10-hour package, 20-hour package, moving into a retainer, hourly rate, like it's just such a great way to start because it allows you to do the math and like figure out the average of how your business works, how you work. And then you can niche down, you can have a blast and go from there. So those kind of let yourself develop. Let your offers develop. Let your packages and your project, let your niche develop. But if you know me, if you've been following me, if any of the Laptop Freedom Babes will assure you that I want you all to get started. That's the hardest part. I want you finding clients. I want you getting paid. I want you making money. That's what my job is the like masculine energy to all of you women is like, go, 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 shark, 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 get paid, get paid. It's the ickiest part. It's the hardest part. And this is how you start. Just start with packages, hourly packages, and then let it blossom and flourish from there. But these kind of, if you think about crossing those bridges too early, then you might never get started. And that's not what I want. I want you to get started. I want you to be in the icky. I want you to be in the uncomfortable, because then you're doing the damn thing. You're doing the damn thing. Okay, amazing. My laptop is dying and I need to go out for dinner with Mr. Wonderlust. I'm super, super excited. Thank you so much for hopping on live, Jenny. Amazing questions. Let me know if you're catching the replay. And tomorrow I'm heading off to a surf town. I'm super excited. So we're just doing like a little domestic road trip to the islands and going to a surf town. It's going to be raining, but I'm super excited just to cozy up next to the fire and have hot chocolate. Bye.